Zoey is one of the most overrated total drama characters. Okay, I need to talk about Zoey because I genuinely do not understand why people like her as much as they do. Zoey isn't necessarily a bad character. She's just incredibly boring. And that's arguably the worst in a show like Total Drama, because the entire cast is built around huge personalities. You have characters like Heather, Courtney, Duncan, Alejandro, Lindsay, Joe, etc., who can carry an entire scene by being themselves. Then there's Zoey, whose main personality trait seems to be being nice. And before someone says, but she has character development, does she? Because most of her storyline in Revenge is basically being lonely, finding Mike, and then becoming attached to Mike. Then All Stars comes around, and suddenly her entire existence revolves around Mike's multiple personalities. And I actually think Mike and Zoey are one of the biggest problems with All Stars. Their relationship takes up so much of the season. Every other episode is basically another variation of Zoey is worried about Mike, Zoey doesn't know what's happening with Mike, or Mike has another personality problem. At some point, I'm just sitting there thinking, can we please talk about literally anyone else? Then we have Commando Zoey. I don't hate the concept, but the execution is so weird. Zoey goes from being this relatively normal, sweet character to suddenly being an absolute beast. And the show treats it like it's this massive transformation, when honestly, it just feels like the writers needed Zoey to be stronger for the plot. And then she makes it to the final two of All Stars. This is probably my biggest issue. I'm not saying Zoey didn't deserve to compete or that she had zero strategy, but there were so many characters in the cast who would have been way more interesting finalists. All Stars had characters with years of history, rivalries, and alliances. Actual drama. And somehow the season ends with Zoey being the one of the last two standing. That's what bothers me about Zoey. She's not terrible because she's annoying or evil or badly written in every way. She's terrible for the role the show gives her. She's constantly positioned as one of the most important characters, despite being significantly less entertaining than a huge portion of the cast. Zoey could have been a fine supporting character, but making her one of the central characters of All Stars and then making her a finalist? Yeah, I don't see it. And I have to talk about how Zoey somehow didn't figure out that Mal was taking over Mike, because the amount of clues this girl had was actually ridiculous. Duncan literally told her that something was wrong with Mike, and Izzy had already pointed out that Mal existed. Then there were all the weird things Mike was doing that were completely out of character. He was sabotaging people, acting suspicious, destroying things, and generally behaving like a completely different person. And Zoey still kept giving him the benefit of the doubt. Like, girl, at what point are you gonna start connecting the dots? What makes it even worse is that Zoey supposedly knows Mike really well. You would think that his girlfriend would notice when he's suddenly acting completely different, especially after everything they've been through. Instead, she basically needed the entire situation to be spelled out for her before she can actually realize that something was wrong. I understand trusting someone you care about, but there were so many warning signs that it genuinely stopped being believable. Duncan and Izzy were literally putting the pieces together before she was, and that says a lot. And that's basically my entire issue with Zoey. I don't think she's the absolute worst character in Total Drama, but I definitely think she's one of the most overrated. She gets a ridiculous amount of focus for someone who, in my opinion, is not nearly as interesting as the other characters around her. But that's just my opinion. If you actually like Zoey, that's completely fine. I'm not trying to start a war. Anyways, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about Zoey. And if you disagree with me, tell me why, because I genuinely want to hear the arguments. And with that said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Please like and subscribe. Bye!